Barbie surpasses The Dark Knight as Warner Brothers' highest grossing domestic release in history. What even is this timeline at this point? Imagine trying to explain this to somebody 10 years ago. Oh, okay. Alright. In a decade, there will be a Barbie movie. It will be a feminist Barbie movie, you see. And it will fail completely and utterly in representing feminism as anything besides a brutally oppressive totalitarian dictatorship where men are oppressed and treated like objects. This movie will outsell Batman. Not to mention Superman, Aquaman, and every other Warner Brothers hero. In fact, it will spawn a cinematic universe with a total of, 40-odd movies in the works? And the reason why it becomes so successful isn't because of Barbie, but because of Ken. You would be laughed out of the building. Off the internet, you would become the premier bully target of an entire generation. And yet, here we are, as Barbie surpasses The Dark Knight. This defeats Batman. I do also love the fact that they had to add in Ken there because, well, that really is the truth of it, isn't it? The only reason why the Barbie movie is, striking the paces that it is because of Ken, really. It had a decent opening weekend where people went to see it for the premise of Barbie, but pretty much all the sales thereafter came about from the word of mouth of Ken, rather than, well, people don't even know this character's name. It's stereotypical Barbie, which incidentally is the worst name ever, and she's just a Barbie, whereas Ken, well, he's Ken, and he is Knuff, of course. Though the interesting thing is here, as mentioned, Mattel is already planning quite the amount of movies around this. Mattel, the company behind Barbie, has 45 more movies in the works. 45! Alrighty then, well, we don't know what all of them are, but we do know some, as we've got a list here. American Girl doll, I have no idea what that is. Barney, that's the weird purple dinosaur I remember hating as a child. A Christmas balloon, Hot Wheels, okay, I'm on board with that. Twisted Metal was surprisingly okay, so who knows. Magic 8-Ball, Major Matt Mason, Masters of the Universe. Well, now you've got my attention. If you fire the fat little shit, of course, and you actually, okay. Here's the thing. The He-Man TV series, the animated one, garbage, because it had no He-Man in it. He was immediately replaced in episode 1 where he died by Teela, his, man-hating friend, sort of, who, when she actually resurrects him, go like, "You bastard, why did you die?" "Because you left me to die, Teela, what can I say?" But if only they do what the trailer did and have He-Man be an absolute badass to the tunes of I Need a Hero, well, we've got ourselves a project on our hands. Matchbook, I have no idea. Polly Pocket, Rock'em Sock'em Robots, Thomas and Friends, Uno. I mean, I'm flabbergasted that this was a success, so I suppose I shouldn't be, throwing stones just yet, but... A Uno movie. Very well, I do suppose. See, okay, but here's the problem though. The reason why the Barbie movie was the success it was is, as mentioned, because of Ken. A complete and utter fluke, mind you, as well. So, what kind of lessons are Hollywood taking from this? That's the really big question. And there was one interesting little article in the Rolling Stones here which mentioned it. So, this guy is Asian, and he believes that being Asian should automatically give him jobs within the acting community. I'm not so sure about that, but his primary argument comes down to, let's see here. Asian folks are some of the worst representation in Hollywood by their numbers, and it's never made sense to me because studios are quoting the Asian box office, which is almost as big as North American box office. But it feels like Asians aren't really allowed to complain about that because of the whole model minority thing. Well, one, it's because the Asians themselves, they're not really interested in seeing American Asians. They view you, by and large, as traitors. And ironically, YouTube, I'm not making this shit up, the Chinese in particular are not fond of Chinese Americans. They would rather watch, big-titted white women dancing around on stage with their lightsabers, and less diversity, as can be seen by the Star Wars poster, for example. And okay, here's the guy's conclusion. I feel like just in general, this industry is taking the wrong lessons. For example, Barbie is this massive blockbuster, and the idea is make more movies about toys. No, make more movies by and about women. Really? The lesson here should be that you gave this brilliant independent woman filmmaker in Greta Gerwig the reins to a big blockbuster movie, and had Margot Robbie star in and produce it. Exactly, think like that, it's Greta Gerwig. Now, that is actually genuinely the wrong takeaway, because again, this movie wasn't a success because it was about women. In fact, it was a success mostly by showing how terrible the women in it are to the men in the movie. That was the primary point of conversation, and pretty much the only reason why we're still talking about this movie is Ken. He's the only one being discussed. No one's having lengthy op-eds about the long philosophical journey of stereotypical Barbie, despite that clearly being the intention of the show. And as for this idea about the representation of it, well, first and foremost, this was an all-white movie, with the main characters being a blonde white girl and a blonde white man. It seems as anything, considering this is a smash success, what the audience want is apparently more white supremacy on the screen. Which, you know, being a white blonde person myself, I suppose I appreciate. Like, I don't think this is the W you think it is. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's not. If anything, if we're going to turn this into an argument about representation, it's about men's representation and how they barely get any screen time anymore and being allowed to be men. And if representation really was so important, well, for some reason, I suspect that Snow White and the 7 magically diverse creatures would be receiving a little bit better of a reception, rather than the enormous, continuous, rolling backlash that it has currently been getting. Disney's Snow White has the fairy tale already gone sour. People give one look at this and go, this doesn't look like a fairy tale. They look at this and like, wow, this looks like an incredibly cheap cosplay production outdone by actual porn movies, which it bloody is. Or this, heavens help me. Like, if I didn't tell you this was Snow White, how the hell would you know? Like, Christ, the 7 dwarves aren't even male anymore. Not to mention, not dwarves either. Hey. And of course, Rachel Ziegler herself has become a massive liability, calling the prince a, a creepy stalker? I don't know how to tell you this, but he really isn't. He kind of shows up at the end and goes like, well, this is a pretty lady. She's surrounded by like deers in a glass coffin and stuff. This is rather weird. If anything, I suppose you could call him a little bit of a creeper because his reaction then is to kiss the apparent corpse, which is still, admittedly breathing, etc., but she is doing considerable damage to the movie by basically going on and saying that, oh, she watched Snow White 1 and didn't really like it very much, and then abandoned it, and she doesn't care about the movie. How it's not about a love story, about a strong female leader, etc. You know, the same story that's been told ad infinitum for the last 10 plus years. And what the Barbie movie is the exact opposite of. Stereotypical Barbie is not a strong female character in any way. She doesn't fight the Kens, she uses, well, feminine manipulation to screw them out of a vote. Ironically, that's what she does. Oh god. The real question is, again, what will these and the 36 other movies learn from their one smash success? Will the Hot Wheels movie be about fast cars going fast and in an awesome universe, in which case it'll probably do well? Will the Masters of the Universe series be about, you know, the Masters of the Universe doing cool shit, or will it yet again be about Teela killing He-Man and then bitching at him for coming back to life or being killed in the first place? Will Major Matt Mason, which I'm presuming to be about a major by the name of Matt Mason, actually be about Brigadier General Philippa Dante instead? Only time will tell, but I swear to God, if Mattel becomes the bleeding edge of revolutionary men's representation and returning to action movies and cool entertainment, even as Warner Brothers and Marvel pumps out garbage. I don't know what to say at that point anymore. I think I'll just give up, frankly. I think I will simply just surrender and buy myself some Barbie dolls, because apparently, that's where the future lies, rather than silly little action figures. This truly is both the best and the most ridiculous of timelines. Oh, heavens help me. And hey, considering the massive deficit that... okay. I'll add in a couple of caveats. Explain that the Barbie movie is going to be the best movie in a year that also sees Mission Impossible 7 and Indiana Jones. Well, I mean, even Disney's beginning to realize that their woke programming isn't earning money anymore, so I suppose it isn't beyond the possibilities, vague though they might be, that Hollywood will actually learn a lesson from this. Will actually look at the story, will actually look at the characters portrayed and go, maybe we should have more of this, instead of, more of that. Indiana Jones 5, where the entire point is to take the male lead, shove him to the back, and forward the new female lead that nobody seems to like. We can but hope. So, Mattel forever? Long may Mattel reign over the action industry and Masters of the Universe and Hot Wheels. Heavens help me. Have a good day.